Hello and welcome to the Gothic Unicorn and to a miniature spooky make. Now this make has been a long time in the planning, and it started when I bought a 3D print file for a pumpkin bucket. A lovely little pumpkin bucket, ideal for trick-or-treating, because I just thought it was so cute. Yeah, I know. Easily amused, but they are rather nice once they're painted up. And I did this one and I thought, what am I going to do with it? I really wanted to do something with it, but I wasn't sure how I could do something other than just filling it with bits and pieces. And so it got pushed to one side for quite some time. And then I was inspired by somebody's real life Halloween make. And what somebody had done is they had used the pumpkin buckets that you can get for not very much money, and they turned them into jack-o'-lanterns by cutting out the face as it was printed on, embossed on. I forget what it was on the project that they used. And then they stuck a battery candle inside. So they got a load of safe jack-o'-lanterns. And I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to do that in miniature? But of course, there's no way that I'm going to be able to cut the tiny little face out. And then I'd need to figure out how to light them, which again meant more time spent thinking. And then I had an idea. Now I've got 3D printer resin, which is translucent. It's not transparent, but it is a pretty good replica for old glass, worn glass. And I wondered if it would share the light. So I painted another one. Now, this one hasn't got his handle because the handles are very delicate, and unless I'm thinking about using it as a bucket, I'm not bothering putting them on. And what I've done is I've painted him apart from the bottom and the face details. The rest of it got a coat of black paint that then, when there's no light, makes it look like the face is just black or close enough. And then it got some orange over the top. And I tried putting light through from underneath. What I actually did is I turned the light on my phone and put this on top, and it glowed. If I wanted it to glow better through the face, I could put a little lid on, make a little hat or something out of some card stock. It would hopefully make the face glow even better, but it does make the face glow. And that was the start of it. And so today we're going to make a piece which is going to have a number of these. I've got quite a few. I've got 9 printed here. You can see the transparent resin in all its glory. But I'm going to make something for them to sit on, and obviously they'll be painted up. And then I'm going to put light underneath and make them glow. So let's get on with it. I decided that I was going to make the structure of the lit pumpkin thing out of some scraps of foam board that I've got. It's offcuts from making one of the false walls in my doll's house, and they were a reasonable size, so I thought, cut that down. Don't need that much, and this stuff is a bit pricey, so if it's a reasonable size piece I always keep it. So I pulled it out and I cut some strips, and I've made my structure. Now obviously I didn't just want a line, so I've gone for a two-tiered piece, which is what we've got here. And this is actually made from 5 pieces of foam board, which are 2 that form the flat bits, bit on the back, bit between the 2 flat pieces and a front piece. The sides I have just filled in with some cereal box board because it doesn't need the strength. This piece was quite strong enough on its own, and I thought a bit of cereal box will just give me something to work on when I'm building up my final finish. Now I've actually started this by putting some paper towel, just ordinary paper towel, the kind you get for the kitchen, with some white glue and water mixture, and I've just applied that and scrunched it up in places to get some texture so that I can then paint over it. Now the flat pieces, I have got some nice holes cut in them, which will allow the light to come through from underneath. And if I pick up, this is the painted one, it's got a clear bottom, they'll fit nicely over there. Obviously it's not going to look like this, it's going to be a lot more finished, but I decided to do this earlier on because it only took me a couple of minutes to put this on, to give it plenty of time to dry out. But I'm actually filming this now because, well, all will become clear. It's not anything particularly fancy, it doesn't need to be. All of this will be covered up, it will look more like stone. I could have covered the outside with some air dry clay, but there's rather a lot of it. I've done little troughs and things for decorations in the past, but I thought we'll do this differently. So there's my structure, you see underneath. You see the cereal box, very simple, and yeah, plenty of room for the lighting now, which is going to be the next step. The next step in the pumpkin bucket build is to light it. Now I want to light it before I get the decor finished, so that if I have to make any alterations I can do so. Now my original plan was to use a set of these lights. Now these are little wired lights that you can pick up quite cheaply. I think there's 8 or 10 little LEDs on there, and battery powered, quite simple. Plan was to put 1 or 2 of these under each hole using a bit of hot glue, and thank you very much, I'd have a lit piece. But I ran the idea past my better half, who, as you might know if you've been around here a while, has made a number of the light fittings for the doll's house over to LED, and he said, "Ooh, we could do that with flickering LEDs." So he got himself a job, and yeah, he's now going to interrupt this video to show you how to do it with flickering LEDs, and I'm I'm going to be back in approximately 11 minutes time to get on with the decoration. So if you don't want to watch him doing all the wiring and that, please feel free to skip ahead, and I'll see you shortly.
Time for me to interrupt. Well, you saw how that's made. Next, I'm going to put some lights in it. So I've got these little flickering LEDs. It's a 3-volt supply, and they have a little flicker and a little flash. So I'm going to put them just mounted in there flush with some hot melt. So I'm going to get these, pop them in there. Just give it a liberal squidging of hot melt. Now, what I've just discovered is happening is the little bit of warmth caused the LED to try and come out the front. So I've got to be careful there, because it needs to be flush with the front here for putting the pumpkins on top. So I've just got to be aware of that. So I'm just going to go along now and put each of them in with a little bit of hot melt glue, and then we'll come back and we'll wire them up. So here's the final one. Just giving it a good squidge of hot melt, keeping that against the front so it can't go out the front, and then we're just going to let that hot melt go cold. At this point, I'm not concerned which one's the plus and which one's the minus. What I've done here, I've brought, apart from that one there, all of the long leads into the same place. So I'm actually going to be able to put a blob of solder on there and just join that lot together. Should have made them all into one coherent group that we'll have in a second. Push it down as it goes cold. There's another one here. Going to join that together. Now the final one I'm going to link with a bit of cable, so I'm going to do this bit of cable here, going to cut a bit off, so now I've got 2 bits here. I'm going to just tin these. So I'm going to come in here with this one here and just a little bit of solder on it and join that onto there. Burn my fingers in the process. Okay, let me just take you out a little bit. And then we want to join this onto that conglomeration there. And just make sure that one's soldered, which it has. And then I can push that all down out the way. So then we've got off every LED 1 wire left. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to make sure that they work. And that they're all the same polarity, and they are. So this particular wire's got to go to the back of the LEDs, So in this holder, that's the plus, so we can go to one of these two terminals here. Let's just solder that on. Not worried too much about the tidiness at this point because I will reduce the length of that cable. I am, however, concerned that it actually solders. Okay. So I think I want to insulate that lot a little bit. So I'm going to put a little bit of hot melt over the top of it just to keep it all down and out the way. Next thing we need to do is to link together the negatives. So let's bend those, see if we can get any sort of shares. That'll share with that. That'll share with that, like that. So that way then we've only got to make 3 links. Just going to use another bit of this super thin black cable that I've got and make up a couple of little jumpers. Show you them in a second. So we're just starting off with these little wire jumpers, twist them together. I'm going to tin them up now. Just trim the edges off, make them tidy. And then we'll take a look at this. The big thing that I want to make sure is that this wiring stays out of the way once it's done. So on the end of here, I'll put a little loop so it'll hold that down. I'm going to do exactly the same here, just by bending that over. That'll hold the end of that cable down and out the way, and then we've just got this one here in the middle to join onto. So here we go. Link 1. Okay, I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go down this cable a little bit if I can. That will allow me to cut the top of the cable off, like such. And then this one here, as long as I've made it long enough, which is questionable, it's just going to do it, I think. There we are, look. It's going to go to there. Solder that onto there. Now, I'm going to snip that off because these cables were too long. Strip them back, give them a twist. Give them a rating. Tidy them up. And then we can put the cables back on. So this one here, which is the first one we worked on, is the plus. Turn that over. Put a bit of solder on the connector here. And we'll just bomb that onto there. And that should give us flickering LEDs. As you can see now, that's working. I'm going to pass you back to Gothic Unicorn. She'll probably make a bottom or something to go in that and put the battery holder in. So that's my bit done, and I hope you managed to learn how to do the electrical bit and you were able to copy it. So back over to Gothic Unicorn. And
now you have seen how to wire a piece like this, I'm going to continue with creating it. Now, the first thing you can see I've done is I have put a coat of black paint all over it as a base coat. It's not very good. There's still some light spots, but that doesn't matter. That will get covered up in the process. What I actually did first is I fitted in a piece of cereal box. It was just some that was left on my desk after making the sides for this, that I cut to size, cut out a little notch for the wires to come through, and then I've just put it in. And to be fair, I haven't actually had to glue it in. It's actually wedged in. It's that kind of a deal, but it's not going to be visible because it's going to be underneath, so it will do the job. Then I have attached the battery holder underneath with a little bit of blue tack. This is so I can get the battery holder off to put the battery in and start the lights up. You can use any reusable adhesive. This blue tack is post putty, that kind of thing. You could use even some of like the museum wax that you use on your miniatures for holding your miniatures in place. That would work for this. It just keeps that out of the way so that this becomes a self-contained hole. Talking of holes, when I came to try the pumpkins on this with the LEDs in place, the three at the top here were a little bit uneven because the LEDs were sticking up a little bit more than I would have liked. Not a problem though, because I got some more cereal board and I punched out some circles. There's actually one that's a different size because I tried that size and it wasn't big enough. But I punched out these and I punched a hole through them to in effect make a cereal box washer, which I stuck into place. Now I've stuck two on this one and this one. That's one each, sorry. And then this one has got two layered up. That's got two layered up because it was protruding a little bit more. And this just means that when I bring in one of my pumpkins, they will sit nice and neat and I haven't got to build it up with glue. Could have done it like that, but this is going to be covered up, so it just made more sense to me. My next step is going to be more paint. I'm going to make this look like stone. The outside is going to look like it is some kind of stone structure, using my usual sort of faux stone effect. Grey paint. That's a couple of different shades of grey and maybe some green. And then I'm going to tidy this up a little bit more, ready to finish it off. So I'm going to go off and paint some stone and finish painting my pumpkins, and I'll come back and put it all together. You can see I have been working on the stone effect. Now, for my stone effect, I go with 2 shades of grey, which is a base of dark grey with a heavy dry brushing of light grey over the top, and that is the names of the colours that I use. They are dark grey and light grey. And then I stipple some sage green on top of that, because stone is very rarely pure grey. Concrete might be more of a just a grey colour, but stone tends to have more. And if you decide you want to replicate an actual stone, it might include bluey tones, brown tones. It depends what you're going for. But this is the one that I use with my doll's house pieces, simply because I figure if I'm consistent, it's going to look like it's all items from a particular area. So I've done that, and I have also started gluing my pumpkins in place. Now, to do this, I've just got some of my glue, and I have just put the glue around the hole where the LED is situated. Just turn that so I can get to it easier. And then all I want to do is make sure that the face is facing forwards, and pop him into place. And it's simple as that. The glue I've got will hold these in place quite well. The ones, apart from the one I've just stuck on, have been on there for a while, and they are nice and firm. Now the next thing is going to be to add the greenery. Now I'm going with greenery. You could use something to replicate straw if you wanted. I've done that before. I've used fine cut pieces of paper where I only needed a little bit. Or the other thing you can do is, if you can get some raffia, you can cut that down, tear it down even, and you can use that to replicate straw. But I want to use moss, because it's something that I've used on a lot of my my Halloween pieces. I've used moss for ground cover. Now, I've got a big bag here of moss, and I've had this bag for years, and it just keeps going and going. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bit out, because yeah, I've got more than enough there in that little pile. Now the moss, you want the dried moss, not mossed. I'm having problems with my words today. Anyway, you want the dry sort. You don't want the one that's sort of still very moist, very seems a bit more wet than this, because this will last and last and last. Now this has been coloured a bit, to be fair, this particular bag. I do have some other that is a bit more natural, but the one thing that you will find, if I pull this apart, you might be able to see that there are bits in there that are different colours, and that does add a degree of realism to it. Now my moss, that one is it says it's Easter moss. I tend to find that you can find it in the general craft section in the spring, but in my experience you can find it with the floristry supplies all year round, and it will go a long way. That bag, I don't know how much is in there. It's not very heavy at all, but it has lasted and lasted, and I do use it on quite a few of my pieces, especially pieces like this where I want to cover things up. Now I've put a good amount of my glue on there, And I'm only going to do so much at the moment, because if I put glue over all of it, it would actually start to dry before I got it covered. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to start taking small pieces and pushing it on. Now, it comes in quite long pieces, you can see that. And all I tend to do is I tend to rip them apart. They are tearing apart really, really well. And you can just grab a few pieces and pop them on. And you can always go back afterwards, once the glue has dried. If there's any spaces that look really bald and odd, you can go back in and you can pop some more pieces in. But it's just one of these jobs where it's going to take a little while. But it'll actually go quicker than you think. So I'm going to go and basically carry on, and then when I come back I can show you the final piece. I have finished sticking the moss in place and I've put the battery back in, and I love it. I like how the flickering lights light the pumpkins up. I'm really pleased with it. It's done exactly what I wanted it to do and more, because obviously I just wanted static lights in the first place. Now I am still debating whether to put a little lid on top of the pumpkins, and I've actually made some out of some cereal box material. I've just punched out some little circles that I can pop on top and have a look at it later, hopefully when it's actually dark enough for me to really see, and decide whether I want to go with that. If I'm going to go with that, I will probably make some similar sized circles just out of some black card and pop those on top. I think that'll be enough. I could make proper hats. I could make some little conical witches hats or some little top hats or something, but we'll see. It may just stay like this. I've got to say, this is one of my favourite pieces that I've made for a long time. I'm really pleased how the idea has come together, and I'm very grateful for the assistance that I've had. And I think this is an idea that I want to take further, but I'm not going to go any further. I'm not going to say any more about that at the moment. Just wait and see. So if you have enjoyed this video, please like, comment and subscribe, and consider ringing that notification bell. It's your best chance of finding out when I next put a video up, because I don't know when it will be. I can say though that the next video is underway. It's in progress as I'm filming this, and you might want to see it. That's all I'm going to say. You might want to see it. So, until next time, bye!